I lay naked on the cesarean operating table, happily reviewing my sperm donor, keep the baby plan. 10 months ago, select the man, take him away, one night and success. Absolutely perfect. If the child's eyes and brows resemble that man, whether boy or girl, they'll be very beautiful, right? Humph, you're quite scheming, knowing how to use a child to get ahead. Damn, that sexy baritone. It scared me so much I woke up from the anesthesia. That brow and I was just fantasizing about, wearing a blue surgical mask, walked towards my legs holding a scalpel. What's going on? What happened to sperm donor? Keep the baby. The baby's kept, but the donor's still here? The curve on my electrocardiogram right now is probably more exciting than the A-share market. The anesthesiologist was so startled, he leapt forward and frantically checked my vital signs, muttering, "Don't be nervous, relax, deep breaths. Dr. Frost hasn't started yet. The hell with you." It's precisely because he's about to start that I'm so nervous I'm about to die on the spot. I stared intently at the man walking slowly towards me. Those peach blossom eyes that I just thought were a must-have inheritance for my child were now shooting icy laser beams at me through a pair of thin lenses. Phew. Dr. Frost. My tongue could barely straighten out. How is it you? He walked to between my legs, where I was completely exposed, and looked down at me. Otherwise, you went to so much trouble to get pregnant with my child. Wasn't it for today, so I could personally cut open your belly and see exactly how sincere you are? I immediately had the old man on the subway looking at his phone meme reaction. Who are you, bro? It was just a one-night stand. Why are you taking it so seriously? Are you trying to connect emotionally? I swear, that night in the bar, I just thought he was handsome, had good vibes, and won every game with ease, like a high IQ individual. I was just thinking of optimizing my future child's gene pool, who would check the household registration and occupation of a one-night stand partner. I don't know you. The anesthesia was gradually taking effect. My consciousness began to dissipate, but the instinct for survival made me desperately explain. Heh. Don't know me? Don't know me. Yet you were able to precisely find the bar I only go to on Tuesdays, my day off? Don't know me. Yet you could put something in my drink? Don't know me. Yet you could lie in my bed until the next morning, leaving a room full of evidence? Damn, the information overload is frying my CPU. Drugs. Evidence? Was my child not a one-night surprise, a clean break, but a shocking conspiracy? But I really didn't do any of that. My sperm donor, keep the baby plan, seems to have taken a wrong turn? Ooh. Increase the anesthesia, put her to sleep. What the hell? Increase it. Are you trying to murder me, bro? I tried to widen my eyes to see his expression behind the mask, but my eyelids were as heavy as two weights. Adrian. Losing consciousness, I heard him say in my ear, "Remember this name, if you still want to enter the Frost family." I woke up again in pain. The incision on my abdomen felt like a million ants were gnawing at it, burning hot. My best friend Harper held my hand, her eyes red. "Vivian, you're finally awake. You scared me to death. Water." My throat was so dry it was smoking. Harper quickly dipped a cotton swab in water and moistened my lips. The baby. He's in the incubator, a big healthy boy, 7 pounds 6 ounces, very healthy. I wanted to smile, but it pulled at the incision, making me gasp in pain. Harp, hurry and call the nurse, I need more pain relief, it hurts too much. I already called, it's useless. Harper stomped her foot in anger. Your surgeon has the worst bedside manner. He gave orders that you have a special constitution and aren't sensitive to anesthesia. Adding more pain relief is risky, and you have to endure the pain physically. Bullshit. My cousin had a pain pump for 3 days after her cesarean, and had so much milk she could feed 2 babies. Me. I'll endure his grandma's legs. Just as I was cursing, the door to the ward was pushed open. Adrian came and bathed in a spotlight of attention, wearing a white coat like a custom-made suit, gold-rimmed glasses, perfectly embodying the sophisticated and depraved vibe. Behind him followed a chattering group of little nurses. Awake. He glanced at me, with a look that seemed to be looking at fly-covered shit. I gritted my teeth and squeezed out a few words. Dr. Frost, I want more pain relief. He flipped through the medical chart at the end of the bed, and said in a slow, measured tone, Miss Hayes, your post-operative reaction is within the normal range. Abusing pain medication can affect the recovery of intestinal function and is bad for your health. I'm in unbearable pain. Oh, he raised an eyebrow and said in a beautiful but sharp tone. When you didn't hesitate to drug yourself to get pregnant with him, didn't you think about today? You can't even handle this little pain, and you still want to be the young mistress of the Frost family? The two little nurses' eyes instantly changed, from sympathy to contempt filled with gossip. I was trembling with anger, a breath stuck in my chest. Adrian, don't slander me. I didn't. He completely ignored my defense and instructed the nurse. Press on her abdomen to promote uterine contractions and gas expulsion. A nurse responded and ruthlessly pressed down near my incision. I screamed, as if I was being cut open again without anesthesia. In the days that followed, I learned what hell on earth was. My wound healed extremely slowly, and began to repeatedly become inflamed and ooze fluid. The most painful time of the day was changing the dressing, and Adrian always managed to amplify that pain tenfold. Today you're here for your internship to observe and learn. This is a very typical case about the treatment of post-cesarean section wound infection. He stood in front of my hospital bed, followed by 7 or 8 young men and women in white coats, their faces still showing their youth. Harper exploded on the spot. Dr. Frost, what do you mean? Changing the dressing is changing the dressing. Why are you bringing so many people to observe? What do you take Viv for? She's a girl. You. Adrian didn't even look at her. His eyes landed on my pale face, and he slowly interrupted her. Miss Harper, please watch your language. In the hospital, I am just a doctor, and Ms. Hayes is my patient. Allowing interns to observe and learn is a normal procedure in a teaching hospital, and helps to cultivate the next generation of excellent medical talents. Miss Hayes, as a patient, has an obligation to cooperate with treatment and teaching. The head nurse immediately came to his aid. Ms. Hayes, Dr. Frost is doing this for your own good too, letting so many future doctors see your situation. Brainstorm, maybe your wound will heal faster. Just think of it as contributing to medical science. To hell with your medical contribution. Why don't you contribute something to medicine? Under their double act, I was uncovered and my pants were pulled down, like an exhibit, exposing my most private, most embarrassing wound to the gaze of a group of strangers. Most of those interns were young people in their early 20s, their eyes filled with curiosity, embarrassment, and undisguised disgust. I bit my lip hard and buried my face in my arm, my sleeve soaked. Adrian put on gloves, picked up a pair of tweezers with an iodine-soaked cotton ball, and while performing a rather rough cleaning of my red and inflamed wound, he explained to the students in his clear and pleasant baritone voice. Everyone, look, the edges of the wound are red and swollen. The skin edges don't meet well, there is yellow exudate flowing out, accompanied by a bad smell, typical symptoms of infection. His tweezers sharply scraped across my skin, and I trembled all over in pain. There are many reasons for this situation, such as the mother's own low immunity, or not paying attention to personal hygiene after surgery, leading to bacterial growth. His meaningful words caused the surrounding discussions to sound louder and softer. I heard she's that bar girl, trying to get pregnant to marry into a wealthy family. She looks pretty pure, I didn't expect it. Look at Dr. Frost's disgusted look, he must have been entangled. Harper was so angry that she wanted to rush up and tear their mouths apart, but she was stopped by 2 male interns. I finally couldn't help it, raised my head from the pillow, and glared at Adrian with red eyes. What exactly do you want? He finally stopped what he was doing, took off the gloves stained with blood and pus, and threw them into the trash can. What do I want? He smiled lightly. I just want you to know that the Frost family's door is not so easy to enter. By whatever means you climbed into my bed, I will make you get out by the same means. Oh, you want to play this game with me? I absolutely cannot lose in terms of momentum. Heh, so now, in whatever way you just entered the ward door, I also invite you to get out with them in the same way. That night, I developed a high fever. The wound infection worsened, and I was delirious with fever. In my dream, I seemed to have returned to 4 years ago, when Harper and I graduated from college and rented a small studio apartment. My parents were fighting over money again. My mother called me, not to ask how my job search was going, but to cry and ask me to send her money, saying that my dad had beaten her, and she needed to be hospitalized. My dad called immediately after, scolding my mom for faking it, telling me not to give her money, and saying that if I dared to give her money, he would come to my company and make a scene. I hung up the phone and sat alone on the cold floor of the rented house, looking at the lights of thousands of homes in the city outside the window, not one of which was lit for me. Harper hugged me and said, "Viv, don't cry. In the future, we'll earn our own money, buy big houses, and no one will be able to bully us." I thought at the time that love and marriage were too unreliable. In this life, I don't want men. I don't want a family. I just want a child of my own, connected by blood. I want to give him all my love, so that he won't live like me, like a lost soul. Therefore, the absurd fatherless child plan came about. But I never imagined that I would choose a life-reaping devil among all my careful selections. The high fever plunged me into a deeper nightmare. I saw Adrian walking towards me step by step, holding a scalpel, cutting open my stomach as he said, "Didn't you want my child? I'll grant you your wish, and then, I'll dig out everything you own, bit by bit." "No." I screamed in terror, suddenly opening my eyes. I was met with the head nurse's gloating face. She was haphazardly wiping my stomach with an iodine cotton swab. "Oh, you're awake? What kind of nightmare did you have? You look so scared. Did you dream of your high society dreams falling apart?" Seeing that I was awake, she applied even more pressure with her hand. "Let me tell you, Dr. Frost came to see you." She leaned close to my ear, showing off triumphantly. "He said your condition is more psychological than physiological. In other words, you're just faking it. He also said to take good care of you." "No, I can't stay in this den of dragons and tigers any longer." I grabbed Harper, using all my strength, and said, "Harper, that son of a bitch Dr. Frost, he's the baby's father. I feel like if I stay any longer, I'll be left without a mother." Looking at my flushed face and the shocking wound, Harper's tears welled up instantly. She nodded vigorously. "Okay, we're leaving. We're leaving right now. We're not staying in this hellhole for even a minute." The plan went smoother than expected. Harper had a huge argument with the head nurse at the nurses' station, attracting all the nurses on the floor to watch the commotion. Taking advantage of this opportunity, I hugged the baby, sat in a wheelchair, and hired someone to push me out of the hospital through the fire escape, escaping from Myanmar. The hospital. We went straight to another private hospital. The female director who examined me frowned at my wound. "This stitching technique is very skillful. It's a type of cosmetic surgery stitch. From the outside, if it heals well, you'll hardly see a scar." The female director's expression was a little strange. However, he used a suture that slightly stimulates excessive proliferation of granulation tissue. We usually only use this type of thread on depressed scars that need filling, never on a flat incision like a C-section. My heart sank. What? What will the consequences be? "The consequence is what you're experiencing now," the female director sighed. "The wound will be difficult to heal completely. It will repeatedly become inflamed and ooze fluid, and because the tissue is constantly growing and fighting internally, you will experience much more pain than a normal postpartum woman. In short, you'll be suffering a living hell. But from a medical perspective, it doesn't cause any irreversible physical damage to your body. The doctor who performed the surgery on you is a master, but also a heartless person." After hearing the doctor's words, Harper and I exchanged glances, a chill running down our spines. Adrian didn't want my life. He wanted me to live, consciously and intensely experiencing pain and humiliation. Harper was shaking with anger. "Let's sue him. We'll sue him. This is medical malpractice. No, it's intentional harm." I consulted a lawyer, but the lawyer said the chances of winning were at best 50-50, and it would require a huge investment of time and money. Adrian's family is powerful and wealthy. I can't afford to fight him. I can barely get out of bed to walk, and I have a baby to take care of. "Viv, what do we do? Are we just going to let this go?" Harper asked reluctantly. "Let it go? How could I? I've noted this debt. A gentleman takes revenge, even if it's 10 years later. Except, I'm not a gentleman now. I'm a useless person who just gave birth." "Harper." I turned to look at her. "Help me do something. After it's done, we're leaving here, going far, far away. A week later, with careful treatment at the new hospital, my wound finally began to improve, although it still hurt a lot. At least it was no longer infected. Through Harper, I anonymously sent a letter of complaint to the inboxes of the city's largest media outlets and health regulatory authorities. The letter didn't mention Adrian's name, but it detailed the situation in the obstetrics and gynecology department of Runha Hospital, where the attending physician used his position to inhumanely torture postpartum women, and the head nurse led the bullying of patients. And attached my diagnosis certificate from the new hospital, as well as Harper's secretly recorded audio of the head nurse verbally abusing me. I don't want to ruin his reputation, that's not realistic. I just want to splash a bit of indelible dirt on his flawless white coat, just to disgust him. After doing all this, I took my son, who had just come out of the incubator, and Harper, and boarded a flight to a foreign country. As the plane took off, looking at the city below getting smaller and smaller, I felt a sense of relief and lightness. I named my son Noah. I hope he lives a peaceful life, and I hope I can forget all this and start over. I touched Noah's warm little face and whispered in his ear, "Baby, say goodbye to this terrible place." For reunion pain. For years later, Paris, France. At a global summit of leading artificial intelligence and life science cross-disciplinary fields, I was giving a keynote speech as an invited expert in AI-driven gene editing technology. Therefore, the algorithm model we have developed can reduce the off-target rate of CRISPR technology to less than 1 in 10 million, which means that in the future, precise treatment of genetic diseases will no longer be a dream. I was wearing a well-tailored white suit, confidently and calmly presenting my research results to top scholars and industry giants from all over the world. The audience erupted in applause. 4 years is enough time for a person to undergo a complete transformation. I am no longer the Vivian Hayes lying on the hospital bed at the mercy of others. I am Dr. Hayes, a rising star in my field. The company I founded, with Harper's powerful business operations, has completed Series B financing, with a valuation of over $500 million US. This trip back to China is for 2 reasons. One is to participate in this top-level summit held in the country to further expand influence. And the other is to come back to see Harper, and by the way, deal with some garbage that should have been dealt with long ago. After the speech, I stepped down from the stage, and Harper immediately came up to greet me, handing me a bottle of water, and saying with a gleeful expression, "My queen, you were so cool just now." All those foreigners in the audience were staring wide-eyed. I laughed and punched her lightly. "Stop teasing me. Where's my son?" "Don't worry, the nanny is with him, he's having fun in the lounge." As we were talking and laughing, a man in a black suit walked over and bowed respectfully to me. "Dr. Hayes, hello. Our Mr. Frost would like to invite you to have a word." I choked on a mouthful of water. Cough cough, Mr. Frost. A Frost who can be called Mr. Frost in this circle in China. Who else could it be besides him? I followed the direction the man indicated, and in the VIP seats in the front row of the venue, a figure so familiar that I would recognize him even if he turned into ashes was quietly watching me. Adrian. 4 years apart, he doesn't seem to have changed much, still wearing those gold-rimmed glasses, looking refined and distinguished. He has just taken off the white coat and put on an expensive custom-made suit, and his aura is even more compelling and profound than it was back then. Isn't he a doctor? How could he be here and become Mr. Frost? Harper saw him too. Her face changed, and she immediately stood in front of me. "Tell your Mr. Frost that Dr. Hayes is busy." The man looked embarrassed. "Dr. Hayes, Mr. Frost, he." "Vivian Hayes." Adrian's voice came from not far away. He walked up to me and stopped. Those peach blossom eyes that once fascinated me and frightened me made my stomach hurt. "Long time no see," he spoke first. I tugged at the corner of my mouth, revealing a standard business fake smile. "Mr. Frost, are we familiar?" "Mommy." A clear childish voice broke the eerie standoff. My son Noah broke free from the nanny's hand, rushed towards me like a small cannonball, and hugged my leg. "Mommy, are you done talking? I miss you so much, Mommy." Noah looked up at me with a sweet smile. My heart instantly melted into a puddle. Adrian's gaze fell fixedly on Noah's face. Noah's eyebrows and eyes were almost copied from him. Especially those peach blossom eyes. They are simply a mini-Q version of Adrian. He squatted down, seemingly wanting to touch Noah's face. I subconsciously pulled Noah behind me, watching him vigilantly. Mr. Frost, what do you want? His hand froze in midair. Adrian slowly stood up, returning to his calm and composed appearance, and turned to his assistant behind him and said, "Tell the European branch that I want to get all the equity structure and financing agreements of Dr. Hayes' company within 24 hours. Also, the meeting with Cisco in the United States this afternoon, cancel everything. Notify the legal department and tell them to prepare the best legal team. I want to get custody of my son." Oh shit. Snatching the child? A buzzing sound erupted in my head. My first reaction was not fear, but absurdity. Is this dog of a man addicted to acting in CEO novels? Opening his mouth and closing his mouth about canceling meetings, legal teams, and fighting for custody? Who does he think he is? The president of the earth? Harper was even more excited than me, and immediately rolled up her sleeves. Adrian, are you fucking sick? What qualifications do you have to demand custody? Weren't you the one who tortured Viv half to death back then? Now you see the child looks like you, so you want to come and reap the benefits? I'm telling you, no way. Adrian didn't even glance at Harper. His gaze remained glued to me, with a sense of inevitability and oppression. Vivian Hayes, we can slowly settle the problems between us. But the child must be named Frost. I laughed. Goddamn Frost's surname. Did all CEOs go through the same training? Mr. Frost, I think you've got something wrong. I tightly shielded Noah behind me, met his gaze, and said word by word. First, my son's last name is Hayes. He's called Noah Hayes. Second, he only has me as a mother. There's no Frost father. Third, you want to sue? Fine, I'll fight you to the end. I want to see, what kind of face does a chief surgeon, who almost tormented his own son's mother to death on the operating table 4 years ago, have to talk about custody for years later? Adrian's expression finally darkened. Looks like you're still as sharp-tongued as ever. He sneered. You think you're Dr. Hayes now with hard wings and can compete with me? I've never thought about competing with anyone, Mr. Frost. I calmly returned his gaze. I'm just protecting my son, not letting him be snatched away by a madman. And what do you think you are, some kind of hot commodity? We're not close. Okay. You bad guy, you bully my mommy. I'm going to beat you. I grabbed the little firecracker who charged out for a suicidal attack and turned to leave. I wasn't in the mood to stay at the summit anymore, and hurried back to the hotel with Noah. Harper's phone had almost exploded with calls. It's over, she hung up the phone looking pale. That madman Adrian is serious. The several domestic cooperation intentions we just got, they're all gone. The other party said they need to reassess the risks. Also, our company's major technical suppliers in Europe just unilaterally informed us that they want to terminate the cooperation, unless we accept Frost Technologies' strategic investment. I sat on the sofa, saying nothing. This was Adrian's method. He wasn't discussing with me, nor was he negotiating with me. He was using his best method, cutting off my wings, strangling my throat, forcing me to yield. What he wanted wasn't cooperation, but annexation. What he wanted wasn't custody, but to pack me, person and company, up and take possession of everything. Damn it, isn't this just commercial encirclement and suppression? Harper paced back and forth in the room, furious. It's so dirty. These methods are too dirty. He was dirty on the operating table 4 years ago, and he's even dirtier in the business world 4 years later. I picked up my phone and called my lawyer in France. Annie, it's me. I tried to keep my voice steady. Help me initiate the highest level legal plan. Yes, regarding Noah's custody, and also, prepare an anti-monopoly lawsuit against Frost Technologies' malicious commercial competition. Annie on the other end of the phone paused for a moment. Lynn, are you sure? The other party is the Frost family. This will be a very, very difficult battle. I'm sure. My eyes became firm. Tell them, I, Vivian Hayes, will fight to the end. After hanging up the phone, I looked at the traffic outside the window. Adrian, did you think that after 4 years, I would still be the Vivian Hayes lying on the hospital bed, at your mercy? You were wrong. You taught me one thing with pain and humiliation. When others want to take everything from you, You can only be crueler than him. Adrian's actions were faster and more ruthless than I imagined. The next morning, I received a court summons. He not only sued for custody of Noah, but also simultaneously applied to the court for an injunction, requesting that I be prohibited from taking Noah out of China before the end of the lawsuit. Bastard. He wants to trap us here. Harper looked at the summons and was so angry that she almost tore it up on the spot. I, on the other hand, calmed down. He's forcing me. I looked out the window and said faintly, he knows the company is abroad, and I can't stay here for a long time. He wants to wear me down with time, forcing me to take the initiative to negotiate with him. Then what do we do? Really negotiate with him? Negotiate? I sneered. What's there to negotiate with him? Talk about how he operated on me back then, or talk about how his head nurse took care of me. In the afternoon, Harper Sr. from university, now a partner at a top law firm, made an appointment to meet me. Miss Hayes, forgive me for speaking frankly, but your chances of winning this lawsuit are very small. He went straight to the point. I know. However, he changed his tone. What if Mr. Adrian voluntarily gives up custody? He took out a document from the folder. It was a medical record. A psychological evaluation report from 4 years ago. 1 week before Adrian's operation on me. Evaluation result. Severe anxiety state, accompanied by paranoid personality disorder tendencies. It is recommended to suspend surgical work and receive psychological intervention. This report was forcibly suppressed by the Frost family back then. The senior explained, he treated you as a chess piece sent by his competitors to destroy him. So that was a disaster imposed on me because of his paranoia and delusion. Once this evidence is made public, it can prove that he is unsuitable to raise a child, and may even completely collapse his genius doctor persona, causing a devastating blow to the listed company he controls. Now the choice is in your hands. He finally said his purpose. Mr. Arthur, that is Adrian's half-brother, hopes you can cooperate with him. He helps you resolve custody, and he wants control of Frost technology. I became a pawn in someone else's wealthy family infighting. 4 years ago and 4 years later. How ironic. I looked at the medical record on the table that was enough to destroy Adrian, and my heart was filled with mixed feelings. Why should I help him? I asked the senior. Adrian and his brother are the same kind of people to me. Because your purpose is to take the child away. The senior hit the nail on the head. Cooperating with Arthur is the fastest and safest option for you. I was silent. Just let him go like that? I couldn't do it. But I couldn't risk Noah. I need time to consider. In the end, I still didn't agree immediately. Leaving the law firm, I was upset. I asked Harper to take Noah back to the hotel first, and I wanted to walk around the streets alone. As the lights came on, I wandered aimlessly through the unfamiliar streets. A black Bentley quietly glided to my side. The window rolled down. It was Adrian. Get in the car. He ordered. I have nothing to say to you. About that glass of wine 4 years ago. He looked at me and said, word by word. I found out. My steps stopped. I got into his car. The car was filled with a faint scent of cedar, the same as the scent on him. What do you want to say? I looked out the window, not wanting to look at him. That glass of wine, you didn't drug it. His voice was a little dry. It was my brother, Arthur. He bribed the bartender. He wanted to create a scandal and pull me down from the position of heir. So from beginning to end, I was just a randomly selected prop to frame him. So you're here to apologize to me now? The car fell into a long silence. So long that I thought he wouldn't speak again. I'm sorry. He finally said those 3 words. I turned to look at him, his profile appearing somewhat blurry in the dim light. Adrian, your apology is too late. And meaningless. I know. He gripped the steering wheel tightly. I know that I did unforgivable things to you back then. At that time, I thought you, like all the women who wanted to climb into my bed, were sent by them. So, that can become your reason to torment me? I interrupted him. Because of your suspicion, because of your paranoia, you can rest assured to trample a woman who just gave birth to your child under your feet, arbitrarily trampling on her dignity. I didn't. He suddenly became agitated. Couldn't control it. When I saw that child, I thought of how my mother was driven to death by those women. I was stunned. My mother, back then, because of the women outside my father, coming to the door one by one with big bellies, got depression and finally jumped from the building. So when I saw you, telling me you were pregnant with my child, I treated you like an enemy. He turned his head and looked at me deeply, his peach blossom eyes filled with pleading. Vivian Hayes, I know it's too late to say anything now. I'm not asking you to forgive me, I'm just asking you to give me a chance to make amends. Give me custody of Noah, and I'll give you 10% of the shares of Frost Technology, so you can live a life of luxury for the rest of your life. You can come and see him at any time, I guarantee. He will get the best education and life in the world. Listening to his words, I suddenly laughed. I laughed so hard that tears almost came out. Adrian, don't you understand even now? I and my son, what we need the least is you. The compensation you give, your shares, your money, in my eyes, are worthless. I pushed open the car door and got out of the car. In his bewildered gaze, I closed the car door and through the car window, said the last sentence to him. Adrian, slowly make amends for your guilt. We'll see you in court. On the day of the trial, I met Arthur. He was slightly younger than Adrian, with similar features, but his temperament was more gloomy. Dr. Hayes, have you considered it? He blocked me at the courthouse entrance, looking confident of victory. Mr. Arthur, I'm not here today to make a deal with you, but to reclaim the justice that is mine. With that, I walked straight into the courtroom. Adrian sat in the defendant's seat, looking even more pale than I felt. He probably hadn't expected me to reject his brother. In court, Adrian's lawyer presented a birth certificate and a paternity test report. Your Honor, my client, as the child's biological father, is the best person to raise the child. My lawyer submitted the first piece of evidence to the court. This is the surgical record of the cesarean section performed by the defendant, Mr. Adrian, on the plaintiff, Ms. Vivian Hayes, 4 years ago. Following that, the second piece of evidence. This is the plaintiff's diagnosis certificate from the second hospital, after she was transferred due to severe wound infection after the surgery. The certificate clearly points out that the direct cause of all this was the use of inappropriate sutures by the surgeon during the suturing. My lawyer looked at Adrian. Mr. Adrian, do you acknowledge the above evidence? Adrian's face instantly turned ashen. His lawyer immediately objected. Objection. This is irrelevant to the issue of custody. How can it be irrelevant? My lawyer smiled. This precisely proves that the defendant, knowing that the plaintiff was carrying his own flesh and blood, could still coldly use his professional knowledge to carry out continuous physical and mental abuse against the plaintiff. Your Honor, is such a violent and personality-flawed person really suitable to raise a child? You're talking nonsense. Adrian stood up uncontrollably. I didn't. The judge banged the gavel. Defendant, please control your emotions. He sat down panting and looked at me, his eyes full of shock and incomprehension. The court session was temporarily adjourned. In the hallway, Arthur looked angry. Vivian Hayes, you're playing me? Mr. Arthur, I'm just taking back what's mine. You think you can win him with just this? You're too naive. Is that so? I looked behind him. That's not necessarily the case. Arthur turned around and saw Adrian. Adrian was walking towards us. His gaze passing over his brother, locked onto me. You know? He asked me, his voice hoarse. Yes. So are you pitying me? Protecting my reputation in this way? Adrian, you're too full of yourself. The reason I didn't use that report wasn't for you, it was for my son. I don't want him to see in the news in the future that his biological father is mentally ill. Vivian Hayes. He called out to me. I stopped, but didn't turn around. Before the trial, head nurse Betty came to me. He said with difficulty, she admitted that 4 years ago, she added excessive amounts of antibiotics to your daily 4-drip. That was the real reason your wound kept getting infected. I've already sent her, along with all the evidence, to the Public Security Bureau. He looked at my back and said, word by word. For intentional injury, she'll be in prison for at least 10 years. Betty was arrested. I hadn't expected this either. I thought it was Adrian's delaying tactic, but to my surprise, The next day I saw the police's blue and white announcement in the news. He really sent his loyal dog, who had been with him for 4 years, to prison with his own hands. Was this justice delayed? Or a scapegoat he threw out? I just felt absurd. In the second court session, Adrian suddenly withdrew his lawsuit. He gave up the custody battle for Noah. All the commercial encirclements and suppressions against my company before also stopped completely overnight. Everything ended abruptly. Harper and I won. We won inexplicably. Leaving the courthouse, I saw Adrian. He was standing alone on the steps, looking very haggard. He saw me, wanted to come over, but his steps faltered. Why? I took the initiative to walk over and asked him, why? Why did you suddenly withdraw the lawsuit? He was silent for a long time. Because I realized I'm not qualified. I'm not qualified to be his father. He smiled bitterly. What qualifications does someone who almost killed his mother have? Vivian Hayes, apologizing 10,000 times for what I did to you is useless. I sent Betty in, not to gain your forgiveness, but just to tell you that I owe you, and I'll pay it back little by little. You don't have to worry about the company. After he finished speaking, he looked at me deeply, and then at Noah in Harper's arms. Take good care of him. Then, he turned around and left forlornly. Looking at his back, I felt no joy of victory in my heart, only a vast sense of confusion. Was this over? I had gathered all my strength for a punch, but it landed on cotton. Viv, did he suddenly realize his conscience? Harper was also stunned. I shook my head. I didn't believe a fanatic would suddenly turn into a saint. The reason was revealed soon. Arthur asked to meet me. He pushed a share transfer agreement in front of me. Adrian has transferred all 30% of his Frost Technology shares to me. Arthur's expression was complicated. The condition is that I can never disturb you and the child again, and must use Frost family resources to ensure the safety of you and your son for the rest of your lives. I looked at the agreement, completely stunned. 30% of Frost Technology's shares, that was almost half of his wealth. He gave it to his biggest competitor just to exchange for the safety of our mother and son? Has he gone mad? I muttered to myself. I think he's gone mad too. Arthur said. He gave up a commercial empire within easy reach, just for a woman he once hurt with his own hands. Arthur left. I sat alone in the cafe, unable to calm down for a long time. I finally understood why Adrian did this. He didn't suddenly realize his conscience. He was using his own way to carry out the most thorough compensation. He knew I didn't care about his money, didn't care about his apology. So he chose to give up what he cared about most, power and status, in exchange for my forgiveness. He was using self-destruction to atone for his sins. He was also using this extreme way to tell me how much he cared about me. How tragic, and how ridiculous. Adrian, you madman. You never learned how to love someone. You only knew how to express your feelings with harm and destruction. 1 year later, my company, Life, successfully listed on the domestic main board. On the day of the bell ringing, I wore a red dress, held 5-year-old Noah, stood under the spotlight, and smiled brightly. Harper, as the COO, was tearful with excitement beside me. We succeeded, building an empire of our own, by ourselves. At the listing banquet, guests gathered. I took Noah, moved through the crowd, and dealt with congratulations from various bigwigs. Mr. Lin, congratulations. You are so young and promising. Mr. Sue, this is my son Noah. I introduced with a smile. Noah wore a small suit, like a little gentleman, and greeted people in a childish voice. Hello, uncle. Oh, this child is so handsome. I smiled without saying anything. In fact, everyone knew whose features Noah resembled more. Halfway through the banquet, I took Noah to the rooftop garden of the hotel. The night breeze was cool, dispelling the alcohol. Mommy, look, there are so many stars. Noah pointed to the sky. I picked him up and protected him as he sat on the railing. Mommy, Noah suddenly looked at me very seriously. Will the uncle we saw at the courthouse last time come to find us again? My heart trembled slightly. In this year, Adrian seemed to have vanished from the face of the earth. I only occasionally saw in the corner of the news that he had completely withdrawn from the Frost Group and gone alone to remote mountainous areas to provide medical assistance. He was no longer the aloof Mr. Frost, nor the radiant Dr. Frost. He had become an ordinary person atoning for his sins. He won't come back. I looked into Noah's eyes and answered seriously, he has his own life, and we have our own life. Oh. Noah nodded as if he understood, then happily pointed to the distance. Mommy, look! Fireworks. Not far away on the riverbank, one dazzling firework after another bloomed in the night sky. I looked at the brilliant fireworks, my heart filled with tranquility. I knew that in some corner of the city, there was perhaps also someone looking at the same fireworks. But so what? We were like two lines that intersected and quickly separated, rushing towards our own completely different lives. No forgiveness, no reconciliation, and no resentment. Just dust to dust, earth to earth. My life with Noah, with Harper, with Chiyuan, was already complete enough. Mommy, I love you. Noah suddenly leaned over and kissed me on the face. I smiled and hugged him tightly. Mommy loves you too, my darling. This is all my happiness.